Hello! Alright, so you guys submitted your first pitches a little bit back, a couple weeks ago, and you've been giving feedback and you're about to do your second version of your pitch. I thought it was only fair that you see my very first pitch for something that I cared about, that I was working on. It wasn't a homework assignment, and see how it turned out and how I would give myself feedback looking at it today. I waited till the last moment. I was waiting until, I submitted all of this at 11:54 p.m. to the Venture Devils program so that I could participate in the semifinals. You'll see, it's not very good. It's garbage, absolutely. It's absolute garbage. But like yours and mine, it's a version 1, and I iterated and it got a lot better. So I just wanted to show you that it does get better and you can iterate upon it, and when you do your first one, it's not supposed to be good. But I have this video that I'll link in the description, and you can watch it if you want. It's really bad and it's hard to sit through for 5 minutes, but it has the foundation of something good, because I had a problem, and that's it. That's the most valuable thing you could possibly have when you're trying to do this. If you have a valid problem, and we had a valid problem, and at that point I didn't develop a lot of my disciplined entrepreneurship approach, and because of that I was ego driven, and everything that we did was what we thought was useful for the customer and not what we found and validated that was useful for the customer. And that ultimately led to us not working on it anymore, because we weren't making that progress and we weren't feeling that, and we felt that resistance, and it just wears on you. But we'll go over this some. I'm gonna tab through it because sitting here watching it with you would not be fun for either of us. So I'm just gonna tab through, but I'll put the screen recording in the corner and we will see how this goes. All right, so this is kind of interesting. I broke up the problem into 3 slides. From a need, and then I go the questions, the problems. This is okay. You can add your own spin, and that's totally allowed. We don't have these guidelines about how to approach the slides because we want to tell you what to do. We have these guidelines because it actually works. A lot of people pitch at ASU every single semester, multiple times a semester, and what people seem to connect more with is this approach, because there's a cohesive flow. You show me the problem. It's a person that has the problem. You show me how you're approaching that problem. You show me how that problem's going to be a sustainable business. Have you looked at your competitors? Oh, do you have a team that's going to work at trying to deliver this solution and create this value through this business that you're creating? Do you need anything else to carry out your business? And so that was problem, solution, how it works, business model, competitive advantage, team, and ask, all in one. And it flows. It's not just because we're telling you to do it. And I did something different here, and that's fine, but you only have 5 minutes. I barely could sit through 5 minutes of my pitch. Now, if you get an investor to give you 5 minutes, they are taking their lives and giving you 5 minutes where they could be making a deal or making more money. And so you really have to take note of that and not waste people's time or your own time. So, problem. You show the problem, you show a person that has the problem. In these examples, I have these stock, not even stock, I clipped these from Google Maps myself. Yes, and yep, there's stock images. Clipped it from Google Maps. This is Gamage right here, and this is just a random picture. And although my problem is true, I already started getting complex in that I just want to focus on the most important problem and the person that has that problem. So stay very focused. So in this case, I go to, I start like no access and poorly applied solutions. That's fine, but really hone in on a person. And I didn't do that anywhere in here. I almost did it. I write, one of the people that I messaged about this wrote, I was too pregnant to ride a normal bike and too poor to buy a car, and buses are weird. Well, I'm too busy talking in this and using really wordy terminology, and the entire thing was scripted, which you should not do. You should not script your pitch. It does not turn out nice. And I did so, and so when I'm just blabbering off words this entire pitch, and it's just some scripted mess that I wrote, there's more words on the screen. It's like, well, am I supposed to listen to Mike saying a whole bunch of stuff, or am I supposed to read this text? And so you really have to think about the audience in this tense. And so when Brent says, throw a picture up there and just tell me stuff, there's a reason for that, because all I have to do is glance at the picture, feel the connection to the emotion that the person on the slide is feeling, and then you're going to say stuff, and I'm going to listen to you. And so with this example, there's nothing to connect to. I finally, I could do a slide, I introduce the brand or the company, and then I go into it, which is WhyPedal, and there's still no connection. So after this, I go into a solution, but it's kind of just a video of me riding down the street really fast on one of the gas bikes, and that's chill. It catches an eye, but it really doesn't answer the questions to what is going on and how it works, because I got questions after this from the judges, and they asked me like, wait, so does it have a motor on it? Is it an electric motor, or does it use gasoline? And so I got all these weird questions, and I'm sitting here thinking, what do you mean? I just told you everything about it. And that's because I assumed that they just understood everything from the few pictures that they got. And instead, all they saw was a cool video of me going really fast on a bicycle. And then I go to another site and I break it down a little bit more. I have some more pictures, but in all reality, I'm wasting more time again. I made 3 slides of the problem, and in all reality, I needed like 2. And they didn't have any pictures of human beings. The solution doesn't really break down how it works. It's just showing pictures of it. And maybe sometimes how it works isn't how the engine works on the bicycle, but how it impacts the user. And so how them having this solution allows them to get to work, or provides them this, the transportation. So how it works doesn't need to be like the engineering behind how it works. That can be included. But sometimes how it works is the user experience of how it works within their life. Yeah, and then I go to another slide, the e-bike. See, there's just a lot of extra, and I mean, I was able to shove it all into 5 minutes, but if you listen to the video, I'm just railing off words, and I'm just talking and just talking. It shouldn't be like that. It should be like, there should be communication, establishing some sort of connection with the people that are listening, and instead I'm just trying to shove as much information in here as possible, and you really don't need to do that. You just stick to the guidelines and ask yourself the question of the guideline of the slide. So if it's a problem, ask yourself, what is the problem? And answer that question. What is the solution? Answer that question. How does it work? And answer these questions. So you're not supposed to just shove information in there and hope they understand and put it all into order in their own head. You're supposed to put it in order for them. And so I'm just going off and just giving them a whole bunch of information that they don't really need. Yeah, I got a lot of weird questions, like people like couldn't tell the difference between the gas bike and the electric bike, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, that's a battery, that's not an engine. And it's easy to assume that everybody knows what you do when you're pitching this type of thing, especially if you have imagery. You're like, well, look at the image. But no, that people don't understand what's going on. You're the expert, and you're the expert in this class. You found a problem and you're talking to us. We do not have the answers. The market has the answers, the people that you're talking to. And what ended up having this not go any further was we didn't talk to enough people and have a scientific method approach to communicating with the customer. We should have proposed a hypothesis, tested that, and moved forward, but instead we had some hunches because we were interacting with people, and the hunches were accurate. People needed a form of alternative transportation, but then we used our ego to decide how we moved forward. It didn't work out. All right, this is probably one of the worst slides in here. The market slide. It's just a whole bunch of numbers that I found online. And so we were talking to people and interacting, and so I saw people that had our problem and saw how the industry was changing in terms of electric vehicles. But I then went online to add credibility. I tried to find reports because I thought if I gave reports to people, they would think it would be of value. But in all reality, what I should have done is taken one of our customers, talked about him, talked about how the solution impacts him, and talked about how many people like him I've found, and what my hypothesis is of how many other people there are in this area, and then this area, and then bigger. And that's how you approach the market. It's a bottom-up approach, starting from the customer, someone real, and then going up to a hypothetical, which you'll continually try to validate. But from here, I went from big, unvalidated, to down to a customer, and that doesn't work because I can't validate the big thing, not yet. But I can validate one customer or two customers or every customer that I talk to or interact with. So this slide is just horrendous. I listened to myself talk for like a minute about just numbers, and once again I'm just railing off a script that was bad. That was really bad. All right, so now we're on the competitors. So this, also a bad slide. Got that little generic Google Maps photo in the background. In all reality, all this seems like I'm doing is talking about what we are. It doesn't seem like there's nothing about the competitors. I just talk about what we do. And so the point of the competitive advantage slide is I want to know that you have taken your ego out of what you're working on, and that you've researched what else is out there, because you only care about solving the problem. And if somebody else is solving the problem, you should just point them into this direction of that solution. And if it isn't being solved and you can distinguish yourself to being different from the way things are currently being done, then that means you should be working on it. So I want to see you have done research and you're confident and you're looking around at what else is out there, and you can say, these things are out there and they're really cool and they add value, but we're different because of this. And the way we're different is because of these features. And these features are important because these features are the features that our customers have noted as important, or specific problems that they're having that aren't being met with the other solution. So you don't just list features like I did here and just say these are going on. You list the things that preferably stick to the rule of three. List the three things that are features that you have noticed through conversations need to be solved for your customer because they're problems that you can approach. It's not just feature. There's no point of that. That's not a disciplined approach. Ugh, this is a mess, absolute mess. And then I go to the next slide and it's just some graphic work about it's connected. What we were doing is right, and it wasn't wrong. These were things that were going on. People would get a form of transportation and they wouldn't have a source of working on it or servicing it because they would buy it online. There was no educational material. There's no consulting. There's none of these things. So what we did was right, but I can't tell what we did from this slide. I only know that because I remember it. And so when I portray it in this slide, you don't understand that. You don't understand the value that we're bringing and how it's different. Because it's not being accurately depicted on this slide, and that's why the grid is valuable. All right, business model. We ask for a typical sale. The reason why we ask for a typical sale is because I want to be walked through the experience of the customer, not in terms of the solution like with the solution slide, but I want to be walked in terms of the money. Because at the end of the day, you need a sustainable way to create value for both the customer and yourself, the business itself. And I want to be walked through a typical sale. The reason why that's valuable is because, once again, you take the person and they have the problem and you have the solution, and there's a transaction that occurs. I want to know about that. How often do they buy a gas bike? Do they buy one? Do they service it? Do they come to you for consulting and they recommend friends? Tell me about those things, because that will tell me how you are going to sustain creating the value that you're creating for the people that you're creating value for. And so in this case, I did some good things, but in all reality, once again, I was just trying to show stuff off. We sold 379 complete units, $189,500 in revenue. That's just showing stuff. and that's fine, but like have that bottom up approach again. We had this customer that did this and had this transaction. He paid with cash, and he came in and bought another part. He then needed its service. He calls us regularly for consulting on how to approach things, and we have interacted with this many people like this, and it's led to this many units being sold and this revenue. That's a bottom-up approach. Once again, I can follow your train of thought. You take me through the experience of the customer and how that grew up to these numbers. You didn't just boom threw a whole bunch of numbers at us and hope that we understand what's going on. I could have done better. I did do better. The V2 is good, and we didn't get to a V3. Team slide pretty straightforward. Good pictures, really connect with people. I'm not a fan of putting your degree up there. I want to know what you do on it. So in this case, I put a degree. A little bit better, I write combined years of customer service. Now that's something cool. That means you can explain that means I can interact with people. We both can interact with people and communicate with individuals. But when you put the degree, it's just like boom, degree, and it doesn't really do anything. Dustin over here, he had experience in the automotive industry. I could have personalized that a little bit more, not automotive industry. Instead, I could builder, maker, person, not afraid of engines. You could just put that, not afraid of engines. He just wasn't afraid. He could do a lot with a combustion engine, and he wasn't afraid to learn and do that process. So I just should have depicted that. I shouldn't just say some abstract, arbitrary value of experience and hoped they could put together the fact that because he has that experience, he's good. Really connect. Use every moment to connect with your audience, because when you're connecting with that investor, that is going to make them say yes or no to giving you the funds, because they'll believe in you more if you can communicate what you're working on. But if you can't communicate, it almost appears that it's underdeveloped, you don't understand what you're working on, these types of things. And so connect. This is one of the slides that maybe don't have to be connected to the customer or the problem, but you can. In this case, it would be me and him. Dustin had reasons for needing alternative transportation. I had my reasons for needing alternative transportation. They can go back to the problem. So by the end of this, they go, this is the problem they're solving. They said it to me every single slide. And this is a person that has the problem. It was both of them. It was the person that they've been solving the problem for, that customer, Jacob, I'll show you later. That's what you want someone to remember. You want someone to remember by the end of it, this is the problem they're solving, this is how they're solving it, and the rest makes sense. The business model makes sense. And I believe that they're going to be able to do it because of their experiences. Very interesting. All right. This is the milestones. I don't think there's anything else. No, there is not. So not a lot's going on here. I just put a number, and if you listen to the video, I actually say the number wrong. I put mentors, strategic connections. Those are things that are right but not presented correctly. I have this little wheel over here about percentage of funds. This really doesn't do a whole lot as somebody watching this, or like losing train of thought and then glimpsing at the slide. Like, it would be a lot more valuable to see what I need in terms of resources on a timeline, because then it looks like I know what I'm doing and how I'm going to use these resources. So if I need mentors, when do I need those mentors by? When do I have to have those conversations by? And if I need this money, when do I need this money by, and how am I going to use it? But also importantly is tie those things to metrics, goals that you can actually measure. Because if you use this money to try to accomplish, try to get 2 customers, try to make this much in profit, have this conversation so we understand this by this date. Those types of things are actionable goals. And that's what we want to see in this slide. I want to see that you understand what you need and when you need it, and how you're going to make progress with those things, and when you think that might happen, so that I can judge your progress. So that was kind of interesting. It's actually very hard for me to watch this pitch. Very hard, but it got a lot better. And the next one is profoundly better, and yours will be better too. And by the time you get to your V3, it'll be so much better. But the difference between you and I is I worked on this because I cared about this, and I want you to care about what you're working on. But I understand you're in a classroom and you have a homework mindset when you're working on this, and that's fine. But the goal is to find something you kind of care about and learn about this. So when you do find something that you care about and you try to make a pitch or you try to approach it, you can have a scientific method approach and validate what you think is a problem and that you're trying to work for. So in this class, we're trying to prepare you so that when you want to work on something you care for, you have the tools to do so. And in this case, I didn't have these tools. I didn't take the class yet. I was starting from zero, and I was fumbling, and it caused a lot of strife. It caused a lot of hard work that was unnecessary, but I learned and I kept going at it. And so 3 years later, I can talk in a classroom and I don't have to script the entire thing. So I think your pitches are good. They'll get better, and I'm excited to see what ends up happening. I'll see you later.